There's something undeniable about the pull in your spirit, that quiet certainty you've carried deep within you. For days, weeks, maybe even years, you've sensed something, an inner knowing that defied logic. Others may have questioned it, you may have even doubted it yourself at times. But it persisted, it whispered in your stillness, it stirred your heart in the silence of the night, and it showed up in moments that seemed too aligned to be mere coincidence. What you felt all along wasn't a dream, wasn't your imagination, and certainly wasn't a mistake. It was real, and now the confirmation is arriving, not in thunder or lightning, but in peace. That steady, unshakable peace that comes when your spirit recognizes the truth it's always known. Before we continue, I invite you to stay with this message until the end. If it resonates with you, if something deep inside you begins to stir, leave a comment below with your warmest wishes and the number 77. This is more than a ritual. It's a way of aligning your energy with what's already flowing in the universe. Wishes have power when they're released in faith, and when you take a moment to share them, you're not only affirming your belief, you're adding momentum to their manifestation. Let's talk about that moment, the moment your soul first knew. Maybe you were walking, thinking of something random, and a flash of clarity hit you. Or perhaps you were in prayer, or in tears, and something shifted. You knew you were being guided. You felt something bigger than you moving in the background. It wasn't loud, but it was powerful. That moment left an imprint on your soul. It's the kind of knowing that lingers no matter how many distractions life throws at you. You could try to ignore it, rationalize it, or delay it, but deep down, you never stopped feeling it. Because the truth is, when God places a conviction in your spirit, it won't go away. It will wait for you to be ready to walk in it. And now, signs are emerging. Confirmations are appearing in places you didn't expect. The messages, the synchronicities, the way someone says something that mirrors your thoughts. These are not coincidences. They're confirmations. They're divine echoes reverberating back to you. It's like the universe is speaking your own language now. And if you're listening closely, you'll recognize the rhythm. You'll see how things are being weaved together. That relationship you sensed was important, that door you hesitated to walk through, that purpose you felt called to pursue, but didn't yet have the strength to claim. Everything is being confirmed now. This isn't the type of confirmation that seeks attention. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't even need validation from others. It's the kind that humbles you, the kind that makes you tear up. Not from sadness, but from the realization that you were never crazy, never lost, never misguided. You were always in alignment. You just hadn't seen the full picture yet. And now that the pieces are coming together, you're beginning to see that the delays had purpose. The silence had intention. The waiting wasn't empty. It was sacred preparation. When God confirms what you've felt all along, there's no turning back. You feel that click inside. The puzzle piece finally fits. And suddenly, the confusion fades. What once felt like chaos now reveals itself as orchestration. You weren't being punished. You were being positioned. You weren't being rejected. You were being redirected. Every no was setting you up for the yes that would matter. Every closed door preserved your energy for the one door that was truly yours. And now, as you look around and see the signs, you begin to breathe differently. Your heart becomes lighter. Not because you have all the answers, but because you finally have peace in what you knew deep down to be true. That's what real confirmation does. It brings stillness. Not the kind of stillness that demands inactivity, but the kind that anchors your soul even as you move forward. You stop second-guessing. You stop explaining yourself. You stop needing external permission to follow the path your soul already agreed to. This is the season where you don't just hope, you know. Where you don't just believe, you trust. And that trust is magnetic. It draws the right people, the right moments, the right doors. You're not forcing anything now. You're allowing. You're aligning. You're remembering. And so much of your journey has been shaped by unseen guidance. You've taken steps not knowing where they'd lead, but something inside kept urging you forward. And now you see why. The road you walked with trembling steps is leading you to solid ground. The voice you chose to obey in the dark is bringing you into the light. You didn't miss it. You didn't mess it up. You didn't fall behind. In fact, you've been ahead in ways you didn't even recognize. Spiritually attuned, internally awakened, ready for what others are just beginning to perceive. What you felt all along wasn't just about a person or a place or even a calling. It was about your growth, your expansion, your soul's alignment with divine timing. And now that alignment is creating openings. You're entering rooms you once only dreamed about. You're stepping into versions of yourself you used to pray for. The work you've done, the healing, the patience, the forgiveness, the courage, it's all coming full circle. It was never in vain. You planted seeds in silence, and now the garden is blooming. And the best part? You're not surprised. Because your soul already knew. You may not have known how it would unfold. You may not have had the details. But the sense that something was coming, that you were being prepared, that's been your anchor all along. And now, confirmation is serving as your compass. Every time you see a sign, a symbol, a moment that feels divinely timed, let it remind you, you weren't wrong. You weren't naive. You were chosen to carry something sacred. And now, that sacred thing is being revealed. You are walking in revelation now. What was hidden is being uncovered. What was delayed is being released. What was once just a feeling is now becoming tangible. The timing is no longer mysterious. It's divine. The doors are opening not because you forced them, but because you waited. Because you trusted. Because you stayed faithful when it would have been easier to quit. That's what this moment is all about. This is God's way of saying, see, I was with you all along. There's a quiet power in recognizing that you were never walking blindly. You were walking faithfully. Even in moments of doubt, even when your mind couldn't understand it, your spirit was aligned with something greater. And now that things are being revealed, you're realizing that the confirmation didn't suddenly appear. It's just that now you're ready to fully see it. The fog is lifting. The path is becoming clearer. What once felt distant is coming closer with each step you take. And with every new sign, you find yourself saying, I knew it. I just knew it. You didn't imagine that connection. You didn't fabricate the meaning in those moments. You didn't force the feeling that something profound was happening. It was real. It is real. And now, the divine is affirming it in ways you can no longer ignore. You're meeting people who echo your truth. You're hearing phrases, seeing numbers, and experiencing reminders that bring you back to that inner place of knowing. And it doesn't feel like magic. It feels like coming home. It feels like alignment, like everything is syncing in rhythm with your spirit. People around you might not understand this transformation. They may question your new calm. They might not grasp the depth of your clarity. But that's because they weren't called to carry your vision. They didn't feel what you felt. They didn't sit in the stillness where you found your truth. So don't feel the need to explain yourself. This journey was never about convincing anyone. It was about trusting yourself. It was about being faithful to what was revealed to you in your soul. Because when God confirms what you've long known inside, it's not about validation from others. It's about vindication of your spirit. There are certain things that can only be confirmed through experience. You had to live it to believe it. You had to endure the tension between what you felt and what you saw. And now that your external reality is catching up with your internal truth, you feel a deep sense of wholeness. You're not chasing signs anymore. You're recognizing them. You're not desperate for answers. You're walking in awareness. That's the shift. That's the growth. That's the reward for staying connected to your inner voice, even when the outside world tried to silence it. Remember all those times you nearly gave up? All those days you cried out, wondering if you were crazy for believing in something you couldn't prove. Every tear you cried was counted. Every quiet prayer was heard. Every moment of surrender was sacred. And now, the blessings are showing up, not because you forced them, but because you aligned with them. This is what it looks like when your spiritual work pays off. When the unseen becomes seen. When your inner world becomes your reality. You're not who you used to be, not even close. You've evolved in ways you can't always explain, but you feel it. Your discernment is sharper. Your peace is deeper. Your energy is more protected. You're not so quick to react. You listen now. You pause. You wait for alignment instead of running after appearances. That's confirmation in motion. When you start showing up differently, when your choices begin to reflect what you know to be true, that's when the world begins to shift around you. And don't be surprised if certain things start falling away. People, patterns, places. It's all part of the recalibration. When divine confirmation shows up, everything that doesn't align with it starts to exit. It's not rejection, it's release. The false must leave so the truth can thrive. The imitation must fall so the authentic can rise. This is not punishment, it's purification. And while it might feel like loss in the moment, you'll soon realize it's divine protection in disguise. There is power in staying aligned with what you know in your soul. That's where your authority is. That's where your divine confidence grows. Because no matter what life throws at you, you have an anchor. You have that moment. The moment where you first knew, and no amount of noise, confusion, or fear can take that away from you. You've come too far. You've healed too much. You've waited too long. And now, it's your time. Your confirmation is here. It doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real. You'll feel it in the way your heart settles. You'll feel it in the way your body exhales. You'll notice it in the way your mind stops racing and starts resting. The answers you once searched for are now becoming second nature. The knowing is becoming your new normal. You are living in the presence of confirmation, and it's changing everything. You've been shown glimpses before, hints, nudges, but now, things are becoming unmistakable. You're walking into moments that feel so familiar, like you've already dreamed them. You probably have. And that's how you'll know. You'll recognize the energy, not just the scenery. It won't be new to your soul. It will feel like a return, because your soul already visited these places. Your intuition was already there. You were just waiting for your life to catch up. There's no more need to fight for what's already yours. Your spirit is no longer in a state of survival. It's in alignment. You're not operating out of fear. You're walking in faith. You don't have to force doors to open. You just have to walk toward them when they appear. That's the grace of confirmation. It doesn't scream. It doesn't panic. It simply shows up in perfect time and reminds you, you were never lost. You were always on the way. You can feel it in the atmosphere. Something has shifted. The old weight you used to carry no longer sits on your chest like it used to. The anxiety that used to rattle your bones in the quiet moments, it's quieter now too. That's what happens when divine confirmation takes root in your life. It's not that everything around you changes instantly, it's that you change. And through you, the world starts responding differently. Your inner clarity becomes your outer compass. You don't have to guess anymore. You know. There's a sacredness to walking with that kind of knowing. You start to notice how much you used to overthink, how often you sought signs, begged for clarity, second-guessed your every move. But now, you're not begging, you're receiving. You're not confused, you're clear. And the clarity doesn't just come from understanding, it comes from trusting. Trusting that your feelings weren't delusions. They were divine downloads. They were real. They were leading you. And now, they're being confirmed. And it's humbling, isn't it? Realizing that God trusted you with that feeling, with that knowing, long before it was ever validated in the physical world. It means you were always connected, always chosen to feel things others didn't. That sensitivity you tried to suppress, that discernment you doubted, they weren't flaws. They were gifts, sacred tools meant to guide you through unseen territory. And now, you're realizing that the very parts of you that made you feel different are the exact parts that are carrying you into your destiny. NSO. Many people spend their whole lives waiting for a sign that what they feel is real. But you were given the sign before the evidence. You were given the internal before the external. That's how you know it's divine. Because the world didn't shape your belief. Your belief shaped your world. That's power. That's alignment. That's purpose unfolding in real time. Now you're in a space where the confirmations aren't always grand, but they're always personal. A message pops up when you need it most. A song lyric speaks directly to your moment. A stranger says something that hits your heart like thunder. It's all adding up now. Like puzzle pieces falling into place. You're not forcing anything. You're not striving. You're simply aligning. And in that alignment, everything starts flowing. This isn't about proving anything to anyone anymore. It's about owning what you've always felt, unapologetically. You don't need outside validation to claim your truth. The evidence is already within you. And now the external signs are simply mirroring what your soul has always carried. You're starting to walk with more grace, speak with more certainty, move with more intention. That's what confirmation does. It grounds you. Sometimes, the most powerful confirmation is the shift in your own energy. When you stop looking for rescue and start living in revelation. When you stop questioning and start declaring. That's when doors open. Not just physical ones, but mental, emotional, and spiritual ones. Doors inside you that were once locked by fear are now wide open. And with every new step you take, you're walking deeper into the reality your soul has long anticipated. Then, let's be honest, this wasn't easy. There were nights you cried, wondering if the feeling you held so tightly would ever be mirrored in real life. Days when you felt crazy for believing in something so intangible. But still, you didn't let go. You held on to that thread of faith, and now that thread is becoming a bridge. A bridge into a new reality. One where your spiritual alignment is guiding your physical decisions. One where you no longer need confirmation to move. You move because you're already confirmed. Your strength isn't in how loud you are, it's in how still you've learned to be. Your power isn't in how much you do, it's in how much you trust. And your blessing? It's not coming because you earned it, it's arriving because you aligned with it. That's what God does. He confirms through alignment. He confirms through peace. He confirms through the way your life begins to reflect the truth you carried in secret for so long. NSO, breathe. Rest. Let yourself feel the fullness of what's unfolding. This is your confirmation season. The one you waited for. The one you doubted would ever arrive. The one that is gently, but powerfully, telling you, yes, you were right. Yes, you heard correctly. Yes, your intuition was speaking the truth. Yes, your soul was way ahead. And now your life is catching up. You are no longer in a place of waiting for approval. You are in a place of responding to truth, and that truth is showing up everywhere. In your conversations, in your dreams, in the way you wake up and feel a little lighter, the way you walk into a room and feel more certain, the way you speak, with less fear and more freedom. You are no longer hoping, you are knowing, and that knowing is sacred. You're not here by accident. You didn't stumble into this alignment. You were guided here. Every wrong turn was leading you to the right place. Every closed door was preserving your path. Every delay was divine. And now, you're seeing what happens when patience meets promise, when faith meets fulfillment, when your soul's whisper becomes reality's echo. There's no need to explain your journey to those who haven't lived it. Let your peace speak for itself. Let your clarity be your confirmation. Let your joy be your sign. You've arrived in a season that only your faith could carry you to. And now, every step you take confirms that you're exactly where you're meant to be. What's unfolding now isn't just a shift in circumstance. It's a transformation of identity. You're no longer defining yourself by what didn't work out, who walked away, or what you lost. Instead, you're grounded in what's been revealed to you, what has always lived quietly in the sacred space between your faith and your reality. You've stepped into a new awareness, one that doesn't chase signs, but embodies alignment. You no longer need loud answers, because the soft, steady voice within you has become enough. When God begins to confirm what you've always felt, it doesn't feel like a thunderclap. It feels like alignment so deep that the chaos around you no longer penetrates your peace. Your surroundings may still be unpredictable, but you remain steady. Why? Because you finally understand that the confirmation isn't about everything around you changing. It's about you no longer being shaken by things that once threw you off balance. You're different now. You're rooted. You've come to understand that your discernment wasn't a coincidence. It was a calling. It led you through deserts where you questioned everything. It pulled you through seasons of silence that tested your patience and your belief in the unseen. But now, those same instincts are serving as your guide into clarity. What once made you feel like an outsider is now becoming your inner compass. You don't need to look around and compare paths anymore. You're finally honoring your own. You're beginning to see that the things that didn't work out were never a punishment. They were divine reroutes. Yes, it hurt. Yes, you cried. Yes, you held on to things you eventually had to let go of. But in the release, there was redirection. In the breaking, there was becoming. You had to be emptied so you could be filled with what was truly meant for you. That ache you felt wasn't abandonment. It was the sound of your old self being shed to make room for the confirmed version of you that's emerging now. This confirmation is more than just a feeling. It's a recalibration. You've outgrown the environments that once fit you. You've shifted past relationships that no longer reflect your vibration. That's not ego. It's evolution. You're not better than anyone, but you're becoming better for yourself. And the more you honor your own energy, the more your world begins to reflect that integrity back to you. Confirmation changes everything. It doesn't just validate the past, it empowers the present and clarifies the future. You walk differently when you're no longer trying to prove your worth. You speak differently when you no longer fear being misunderstood. You make decisions from a place of strength rather than survival. And that shift is magnetic. People can feel it, even if they can't name it. You're radiating something now, and it's not pride, it's peace. You may find yourself in moments of deep stillness, where all you can do is breathe in the grace that's found you. You might catch yourself smiling for no reason at all, or waking up feeling lighter without explanation. That's what spiritual confirmation does. It eases the heaviness you didn't even realize you were carrying. It rewrites the narrative in your own mind, replacing doubt with divine assurance. And the best part? It's only the beginning. Because once confirmation starts, it doesn't stop. It begins showing up in layers. The more you trust it, the more it expands. You start seeing patterns that once felt disconnected. You begin recognizing how every chapter of your life was preparing you for this season. Even the painful ones. Especially the painful ones. They cracked you open so the truth could rise to the surface. They stripped away the noise so you could finally hear what your spirit had been whispering all along. And now that you're listening, really listening, everything is starting to flow. You're not chasing alignment, it's chasing you. You're not forcing opportunities, they're finding you. You're not begging for love, you're attracting the kind of love that mirrors your growth. That's what happens when confirmation becomes your foundation. You're no longer a seeker, you're a receiver. You're no longer hoping from a place of lack. You're welcoming from a place of knowing. Let this be your reminder. You didn't get here by accident. You didn't stumble into this moment by chance. Your faith carved this path. Your persistence prepared this space. And your obedience to what you felt in your spirit, long before it made sense, has created a life that is finally beginning to reflect the truth you've always carried inside you. You've walked through enough confusion. You've endured enough false starts. You've healed through enough delays. And now, clarity is your reward. Confirmation is your companion. Grace is your guide. You are no longer waiting for life to make sense. You are walking with a sense of purpose so strong that even the unknown feels sacred. You are no longer asking if you heard right. You know you did. You are no longer wondering if you're worthy. You know you are. You are no longer asking for signs. You are becoming the sign for others, for yourself, for the world around you. Your life is now a living testimony that what's planted in faith eventually blooms in full, even if it takes years, even if you had to walk through fire to get here. And maybe that's the most beautiful part of it all, that this isn't the end of the road. This is the unveiling, the unwrapping, the moment where everything you carried in secret now begins to shine in the open. What you felt all along is no longer hidden. It's speaking, moving, living, and the whole universe is responding to it. You've stepped into the chapter where the evidence meets the inner voice. The things you used to pray about are now taking shape, and though it may not all be unfolding at once, the signs are unmistakable. There's a rhythm to your life now, one that flows from your spirit outward. You don't need to push for things the way you once did, because now what is meant for you feels drawn to you like gravity, like it always belonged. And this is the season where you don't just feel the confirmation, you live it, you breathe it, you walk it into every room, and that energy, it speaks before you even say a word. People may not know what shifted in you, but they can sense that something is different. Something is stronger, more rooted, more radiant. What they're sensing is the peace that comes from being fully aligned with what you always knew deep down. You're not waiting to be chosen anymore. You've already chosen yourself. You've chosen to trust your spirit over your fear. You've chosen to honor your path even when others didn't understand it. You've chosen to believe that your knowing was enough, even without applause. And now, those choices are creating a reality that reflects your truth back to you. That's the confirmation. That's the reward. And it's just beginning. There's something sacred about the way your story is unfolding now. The timing, the connections, the doors, it all feels intentional. And it is. Because the divine doesn't waste anything. Not your pain, not your waiting, not your uncertainty. Every moment, every twist in the journey was refining you for the alignment you're experiencing now. You're walking into rooms that once intimidated you with the quiet confidence of someone who belongs. Not because someone said so, but because you know so. And that's what's so beautiful about spiritual confirmation. It doesn't come from outside sources trying to convince you of your worth. It comes from the undeniable alignment between your soul and your surroundings. It's in the peace that floods you in the middle of uncertainty. It's in the way you no longer entertain things that drain you. It's in the small, consistent ways your life now mirrors the strength of your spirit. And still, even in this season of clarity, there may be moments of doubt. That's okay. You're human. Confirmation doesn't erase fear. It just gives you something stronger to stand on when fear tries to pull you under. You'll have days when the old questions return, when the old patterns try to sneak in. But now, you'll recognize them faster. You'll respond with more grace. You'll return to your center more easily, because you've trained your spirit to trust itself. And that kind of trust doesn't just disappear. You've become a guardian of your own energy. And because of that, you're not as reactive anymore. You're more observant. You know that not everything deserves your response. Not every situation requires your explanation. Some things are best left unanswered, because your peace is the only reply they'll ever need. That's growth. That's the strength that comes from inner confirmation. People may start asking how you got here, how you made peace with the unknown, how you're walking with so much clarity now. And you'll smile, not because it was easy, but because you know what it took. You'll remember the quiet days of doubt, the lonely nights of prayer, the decisions you made when no one was watching. You'll know the price of your peace, and because of that, you'll protect it with everything in you. NTHE. Beauty of this journey is that it's yours. You didn't follow a template. You didn't copy someone else's formula. You listened, you waited, you stayed present with what your soul was telling you. And in doing that, you became the kind of person who doesn't just seek truth, you embody it. Your life has become a reflection of what happens when you honor your intuition over your insecurities. Then let's not overlook the power of your resilience. You didn't give up when things didn't make sense. You didn't abandon your knowing just because others didn't see it. You stayed, you kept listening, you kept believing. And that perseverance, it built the foundation for the confirmation you're experiencing now. You were faithful even when you were tired, even when you were scared, even when you didn't have proof. That kind of faith doesn't go unnoticed. It moves mountains. Now, as you continue walking in this season, let yourself be present in the unfolding. Don't rush to the next thing. Don't let impatience rob you of the beauty that's here now. Let the confirmations arrive naturally. Let them surprise you. Let them comfort you. You've spent enough time waiting for someday. This is your someday. This is the moment your soul has been preparing for all along. You don't need to grasp at anything anymore. You don't need to strive or chase. You are now in receiving mode. Not just passively, but actively. Actively open, actively aligned, actively grounded in what you know to be true. That's how the most powerful confirmations come. Not when you're searching, but when you're simply being, when you're rooted in your authenticity and trusting in your timing. And everywhere you go now, there will be signs, little whispers of reassurance, unexpected blessings, moments of divine timing that take your breath away. And they won't feel random. They'll feel like answers to prayers you stopped speaking out loud. They'll feel like love notes from the universe, reminding you that you were always heard, always seen, always held. And this is what it feels like to be seen by something greater. To be known not just by people, but by purpose. To be supported not just by plans, but by divine timing. And once you've experienced that, everything changes. Your standard for connection, your vision for your future, your boundaries, your energy. You begin to operate at a new frequency, a higher one that's built on truth, not fear, on peace, not pressure, on flow, not force. NSO, keep going, keep trusting, keep choosing alignment, even when it's hard. You've made it through the season of silence. You've crossed the bridge between feeling and confirmation. Now walk boldly into the life that's been waiting for you all along. It's yours, not because you demanded it, but because you became it. That's the power of divine confirmation. You're not just stepping into something new, you're stepping into something familiar to your soul, something you've long felt but couldn't yet see. That is the essence of divine confirmation. It doesn't introduce something foreign to you. It brings into form what you've always carried in spirit. This is why it feels so peaceful, so natural, so quietly powerful. Because it's not a surprise. It's a recognition. And with that recognition comes deep healing. You're healing now, not just from past wounds, but from the doubt that followed them. You're healing from the shame of questioning your path, from the heaviness of wondering whether your faith would ever lead to fruition. You're healing from the ache of unfulfilled knowing. And as that healing unfolds, something even more beautiful is happening. You're starting to believe in your own sensitivity again. You're trusting that your ability to feel deeply was never a liability. It was a light. And that light is guiding others now. Without you trying, your very presence becomes confirmation for people still trying to find their way. You're proof that it's possible to trust something before it's visible. You're proof that faith doesn't make you naive. It makes you powerful. And because you carried that knowing even when it was lonely, you've now become a lighthouse for others walking through the dark. There's no pride in this. It's pure humility. Because you know what it took to get here. You know the inner war you had to fight just to keep believing in the voice that others couldn't hear. You know the tears you cried when you thought you had misread the signs. And now, when you feel the weight lifting and the clarity rising, you don't take it for granted. You thank every version of yourself who didn't give up. And this gratitude you carry now, it's not just for the blessings, it's for the process. For the long journey through uncertainty that refined you in ways no shortcut ever could. You see now that it wasn't just about receiving confirmation. It was about becoming someone who could handle it, someone who could walk in it, someone who wouldn't doubt it the moment it arrived. That's maturity. That's divine preparation. That's what this whole season has been about. You are no longer the same. Not because you've changed completely, but because you've finally returned to who you always were. The doubts have fallen away. The noise has faded. The fear has grown quiet. What's left is your essence, clear, radiant, steady. And from that place, every decision you make now carries a different frequency. You're not just reacting, you're responding from wisdom. You're not just moving, you're aligning with purpose. You've probably noticed that you're not interested in the same things anymore. What used to excite you might now feel draining. What used to confuse you now makes perfect sense. That's not boredom, that's growth. You've been elevated in spirit, and your environment is shifting to reflect that. You're being drawn to what nurtures your peace, what amplifies your intuition, what mirrors your energy, and you don't feel the urge to convince others of this transformation. Because real confirmation doesn't beg to be seen. It simply is. It speaks through your presence. It's in your posture, in your silence, in your ability to be fully rooted in a truth you no longer need to explain. That's freedom. That's the reward for staying faithful to what you knew, even when the world gave you no evidence to hold on to. Now your guidance is flowing in real time. You don't have to chase answers. They arrive in divine timing. You don't have to search for signs. They appear the moment you need them. Your spirit is so attuned now that even the smallest moments feel sacred. A conversation, a breeze, a pause in the day, all of it becomes a canvas where divine messages are painted clearly, gently, beautifully. This isn't just spiritual awareness, it's embodiment. You've gone from reading about alignment to becoming it, from hoping for signs to recognizing that you are the sign. You carry confirmation with you now, wherever you go. And because of that, your path opens in front of you with greater ease. You're not walking in resistance. You're walking in response to what you already know. And still, there may be days when your human side resurfaces, when old patterns tug at your sleeve, when fear tries to take up space in your mind. But now, you have the tools, you have the awareness, you have the anchor of truth. So you pause, you breathe, you reconnect, you remember what's real, and then you choose again. You choose alignment, you choose faith, you choose peace. Because peace isn't just a feeling anymore, it's a standard. It's your filter for decision-making. If it disrupts your peace, it's not aligned. If it confuses your spirit, it's not confirmation. You've learned to distinguish between chaos and divine movement. You know what it feels like when something is meant for you. It brings clarity, not confusion, harmony, not hesitation. That's the wisdom you carry now. This season isn't about striving. It's about surrendering into alignment, letting go of timelines, letting go of control, letting go of needing things to look a certain way. You've discovered that true confirmation doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with flow, and flow doesn't need to be forced. It simply happens. Just like this moment, just like everything you're stepping into. This is your time to trust more deeply than ever before. Not because you need proof, but because you've become the proof. You've become the living reflection of what happens when someone follows the whisper instead of the noise. When someone holds on to faith, even when everything says to let go, you've become the evidence, you've become the story. You've become the sign. You've reached a point in your journey where you no longer need to ask for signs to believe. The signs are within you. They rise with every breath, echo in every moment of stillness, and move with every step you take in trust. You are no longer walking blind, you're walking bold. Not because everything is certain, but because your spirit has been trained to move even in uncertainty, with grace. This is what confirmation does. It strips away the noise of insecurity and replaces it with the confidence of connection. Connection to yourself. Connection to your purpose. Connection to the divine thread that's been guiding you from the very beginning. You now understand what it means to be aligned, not just with outcomes, but with intention. Not just with what you want, but with what your soul truly needs. And in this awareness, your vision is sharper. You see through things now, situations, words, energies. What used to distract you no longer holds power. What once confused you now becomes obvious. That's what spiritual elevation feels like. It's not always about grand revelations. It's about the quiet, daily knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do. And because of that, you can breathe deeper. You can rest more easily. You don't need to chase validation. You already carry confirmation. You don't need to argue for your path. You simply walk it. And those who are meant to walk with you will feel the resonance. They'll meet you at the level of your truth, not the level of your performance. That's what soul-aligned connection looks like. You'll notice that things start to fall into place without the struggle. Opportunities align. People appear. Conversations flow. You begin to realize that life responds not to what you say, but to who you are. And now that you've aligned who you are with what you've always felt, everything shifts. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You became what you believed. You embodied what you sensed. This journey wasn't about arriving somewhere outside of yourself. It was always about coming home to what your soul already knew. All the doubt, all the detours, all the delays, they served a purpose. They built the resilience in you that now keeps you grounded. They taught you discernment. They helped you hear your inner voice more clearly. And now, that voice is your compass. You are no longer afraid of quiet seasons. You understand now that stillness is sacred. That silence isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're no longer intimidated by waiting periods, because you know that when you are aligned, even your waiting works for you. Time is no longer your enemy, it's your ally. It's the space where your roots grow deeper, so your life can grow taller. Then when you look back on the road you've walked, the choices you made based on a whisper, the risks you took because of a feeling, the faith you held when there was no proof, you'll feel nothing but reverence. Reverence for the way the divine led you, even when you didn't understand. Reverence for the way your heart kept believing, even when it was bruised. Reverence for the fact that you never gave up. And you'll begin to realize, all that time, it wasn't about the outcome. It was about becoming someone who could walk in that outcome with maturity, with love, with light. Someone who could handle the confirmation, not as a trophy but as a trust. You were being prepared to carry what you're now receiving, not just with joy but with responsibility, with clarity, with truth. Because when confirmation finally comes, it brings a responsibility with it. Not to prove anything, but to protect everything. To protect your peace, your frequency, your knowing. You don't share everything anymore, not because you're hiding, but because you've become sacred with your truth. You've learned that some things are too holy to explain. Some revelations are meant to be lived, not spoken. And as you live in that sacredness, life begins to unfold in ways you never could have scripted. Not flashy, not rushed, but perfectly aligned. One moment at a time. One quiet yes at a time. And it all leads to the kind of life that doesn't need to be broadcasted because it's felt deeply, authentically, truthfully. And the ones who are meant for that frequency, they'll feel it too. You're now in the space where your inner world and outer world are starting to match. The dreams you've held quietly are stepping forward. The feelings you protected are now being honored. And the truth you carried in solitude is being met with divine validation in public. You're not seeking anymore. You're standing. You're not grasping anymore. You're glowing. There is nothing left to prove, just everything left to receive. And you're ready to let the goodness in, ready to accept the confirmation not just as a sign, but as your new standard. You're ready to walk with ease, to speak with clarity, to love without shrinking, to live fully in what your spirit knew before the world ever caught up. NSO, when the next moment of alignment comes, and it will, don't question it. Don't diminish it. Don't delay it. Embrace it. It's not random, it's not coincidence. It's your confirmation, the one you've been sensing, the one you've been preparing for, the one that proves, once and for all, that you weren't wrong. You were always connected, always guided, always held. This is your sign. This is your moment. This is the unfolding of everything you've ever felt but couldn't yet explain. And now it explains itself through peace, through clarity, through the deep resonance of truth. You are no longer on the edge of what you felt. You are in it, living it, becoming it. You've waited long enough. You've trusted long enough. Now it's time to receive it. Let the confirmation meet you where you are. Let it wrap around you like light. Let it hold you steady, because this time, there's no more searching, only seeing, only knowing, only becoming. The feeling was real, and now, so is the reality.